In Jewish tradition, we describe Yosef as being Yosef HaTzadik because of his ability to withstand everything that occurred to him in Egypt, especially the incident with the wife of Potiphar. However, the Torah describes him differently. The Torah calls him Ish Matzliach. Ish Matzliach is a person that is successful. He has Hatzlacha in whatever he does. Ish Matzliach also has a nuance to it of self-confidence. A person that is an Ish Matzliach, so success breeds confidence in a person. If he accomplishes something, then he thinks he can accomplish something else, something more challenging, something greater. And therefore that becomes the description of Yosef, and it explains a great deal of his behavior, because like he asserts himself to Paro, I'm going to interpret your dreams. Or to the Sarah Mashkim and the Sarah Ophim. Right? So even though he says Elohim Pisro knows that God is the one who has the answers, so to speak, he interprets all the dreams, but I'm going to do it for you. I'm here. And he has that attitude even when he is in the depths of the dungeon. And he feels that he can accomplish it, he can do it. And later on, when he takes over to be the viceroy of Egypt, so in today's world he had no political or executive experience. Right? He owned real estate in New York, but that doesn't make him anything. And he's not fazed. Yosef Pekidim, Mitzrayim, he takes it over, he runs it. So he's a prime example of someone who has an enormous amount of self-confidence in himself, who believes in himself. So some of it stems from his dreams. He felt that his dreams were real, that they were, so to speak, nevuah, prophecy. It was a message from heaven that this is what's going to happen. And since he had this enormous belief in heaven, so he had this enormous belief in his dreams. And he was convinced that it was going to happen. And therefore, whatever occurs along the way does not shake his faith in himself. But there are little nuances that the Torah describes for us. Every letter in Torah, every note of the Trop tells us something. There's nothing that passes without having a lesson for us. Rashi already brings, he's picked up, he's thrown in the bore. He's gone. The brothers threw him and abandoned him. So it says, the bore is molei nechoshim v'akrabim. Rashi says, full of snakes and scorpions. He's unscathed. Nothing happens to him. How does that happen? So that's a nuance. He says, you see, I'm in a pit full of snakes and scorpions, and they're not touching me. They're not biting. Then he is taken out of the pit by traveling caravans. So Rashi again quotes, Rashi is just magnificent in his direction of how he wants to frame what we should learn from the Torah. So Rashi says ordinarily the cargo that they brought down was pitch and tar, oil, fumes, bad smelling things. And here he's picked up by a caravan that's carrying spices and perfumes. So in the midst of all of his troubles, he's picked up by a band of Arabs or Midyanim, whoever they are, and they are going to sell him as a slave. But he picks up on the nuance, this is a good smelling caravan. It's something unusual, not usually done this way. Usually when we have a caravan, we have very negative things that go with it. And here, so to speak, it's a pleasant ride. It's like you get on a plane and all the crew is pleasant. And the middle seat is not occupied. Right? And they give you an extra snack, and so you feel good, even though, because that's human nature. If you get more than what is expected, so then somehow you feel good about yourself. Then he comes down to Egypt, and they sell him. So they sell him on the slave market, so he can be bought by anybody. He can be bought by the lowliest person that needs somebody to do back-breaking labor in his fields, or to build. He could. And he is purchased by Potiphar's Paro. He's purchased by a high-ranking cabinet member of Pharaoh's court, who is going to use him as a house servant, which in the levels of slavery is the top of the level. The top of the rung, because you're going to have good food to eat, you're going to have a good place to sleep, and you're going to be a person. And because of that, that's also a nuance. So he could have been the worst of slaves, and he ends up he's the best of slaves. So he feels that he's an ish matzliach. Feels that, somehow, in the midst of all of his troubles, there's somebody who's looking out for me. So they're not letting me be crushed by this experience. And ironically enough, the story with the wife of Potiphar only encourages that. Because there must be some sort of, I don't know what word to use, feeling of pride, but there's some, she wants me. She is the noble mistress of the house. She can have everything. What's she want to play around with me for? So that also helps build up within him this reservoir of self-confidence, that he's special. Because there are hundreds of servants in the house. Potiphar didn't have only one. So what does she want with me? So he gets thrown into jail again. So Yosef views that as a temporary setback. The stock market is correcting itself. Not serious. He's back in jail. But again, Where did they put him? What jail did they put him in? So they put him, in New York. There's a jail with a minyan and a daf yomi and got kosher food, and no fence. It's full of our people. So you're still in jail, but there are jails and jails. You're not in Sing Sing. So again, he becomes an ish matzliach, and the warden likes him. Out of all of the people in the jail, the warden likes him. And he says to him, I'll tell you what, I'm busy. Why don't you take care of this? You deal with the prisoners. Yeah, he says, sure, I can do it. And he meets very important people in jail, which happens all the time in all the jails in the world. And, jails make you either a better criminal, sometimes they help, but it's most of the time you sharpen your trade in jail. So now he's a big man in jail. He's, because the warden says, Kol asher yesh biyodo, anything that he does comes out right. Hashem matzliach. And Yosef is aware of that. He feels it himself. So now there are two people in jail, the Sarah Mashkim, the Sarah Olfim. So again, depends who you're in jail with. I knew a very, very wealthy Jewish financier in Florida who was convicted of stock manipulation, was put in prison. I think he served 1.5 years. Visited him a few times. So he was the magnet in the jail. Everybody went to him for advice, how to make money. So he gave seminars and lectures while he's in jail. And he was the big man in jail. And the people who ran the jail, the warden, the others used to also ask him, maybe you got something good for me? And tell me what to do. And because of that, he never had a shortage of a blanket or of an extra drink he wanted or something. It was, so that's Yosef. So, and he's attached to these two people, to the Sarah Mashkim and the Sarah Olfim. So again, he's an ish matzliach because he could have been attached to murderers, rapists, the worst people who are in jails. And here he's not in jail. He's attached to the hierarchy, so to speak, because we see later the Sarah Mashkim is restored. He becomes again part of the hierarchy of the Egyptian government. So naturally he feels that he's special. Even if he's in jail, he's still special. And then, so when they have their dreams, so he says, tell them to me. I'll tell you what the dream is. Which is pretty brazen of him. And he interprets the dream of the Sarah Mashkim favorably for the Sarah Mashkim. It's going to be a Paro who's going to have a birthday. How does he know that Paro is going to have a birthday? How does he know that Paro is going to celebrate the birthday? And he's going to restore you to your original position. He's going to pardon you. And not just pardon you, but he's going to, you're going to be again the Sarah Mashkim. But the nerve to tell the Sarahofim he's going to hang you, and that birds are going to eat the bread off of your head, that amount of confidence is enormous, right? That's the ultimate amount of self-confidence. So, if you go to a soothsayer or a fortune teller, they'll tell you always good news. Right? It's like a financial advisor. They're always telling you good news. A great Chassidic Rebbe once told me, he said, everybody comes to me with their tsaras. But no one ever comes back and tells me, that somehow my advice helped and saved them. I never hear that. And here Yosef takes all of this on himself. And this is the key to his personality. It describes what he is and why the brothers were so frightened of him. And why he was the greatest of the brothers. Because he's an ish matzliach. Whatever he touches turns to gold. And he knows it, and he feels it, and even in the worst of situations, he's not fazed by what happens because he knows that he's an ish matzliach. And that is I think, a great insight into the character of Yosef, and explains a lot of what the Torah describes to us in these parshias. Rabbi Hanani ben Akashi Omer, Ratzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'zakas Yisrael, Leficha l'chir b'lohem Torah mitzvot shenemar, Adonai chafetz tzidko yagdilu Torah v'yadir.